Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get Smart with Stanford. If you are in grade 12 and mathematical literacy is one of your subjects, you are in the right place. In today's lesson, we're going to break down an important common paper which was written in March in Limpopo. We're going to break it in a simple and practical way, step by step, so that you can understand it, apply it, and pass your exams with confidence. Remember, mathematical literacy is not just about passing. It's about understanding real life math like tax, budgeting, interest, and everyday problem solving. So grab your pen, your notebook, and let's get smart together. Now, let's get started. In question 1.1, they say that table 1 below gives definitions of terminology used in mathematical literacy. So, the definitions on this table from A to K should be merged with what we are seeing on 1.1.1 to 1.1.5. So let us first read the definitions together so that we can get to understand the percentage rate of interest that will be charged on your loan amount. Actually, that's already giving you the answer, but I'm not going to give it to you yet. Just think about it. B, a record of income and expenditure. C, data value that lies an abnormal distance from the other data values in the data set. D, the amount an individual takes home after deductions are made. Data that can have only certain values. Quantities that can be counted, usually whole numbers. That's on E. And F is information, series of observations, measurements, facts, collection and recording of information for statistical investigation. J, identification of the type of data. H, interest charged on amount due, inclusive of interest charged to date. J, the total amount of all an individual's income before deduction. A plan of how to spend money. An estimate of income and expenditure. That is what we are seeing here. We have read all these definitions from A to K. All right, so here is the question or an instruction. They say use table 1 above and match the definition with the terminology below. Write only the letter next to the question number, e.g. 1.1.2 M. And we know that we don't have M on the table above. So 1.1.1, we want the definition of budget. What does it mean to budget? When I look at all these definitions, budgeting is planning how you are going to use your money. Budgeting is planning how the money that you have, or how the money that you have earned, or how the money that has been given to you is going to be spent. And you're going to estimate the money that you have, the money that have come to you, and compare it to what you are going to spend it on, which is the expenditure. So that brings my conclusion to K. Budgeting is planning, so K is the correct answer. Outlier. An outlier is a value that is very far from the other data values. So an outlier, looking at this table, would be C. because C says data value that lies an abnormal distance from the other data values in the data set. So it's C. Interest rate. That's 1.1.3. Interest rate is the percentage charged on a loan. The percentage charged on a loan. Like you coming to me, you say, borrow me 100 rands, and I borrow you 100 rands, and I tell you that my 100 rands comes back with a 20 rands extra. That is a 20% charge. So a percentage charged on a loan is interest rate. And looking at this, that would be A. That is A. Because A says the percentage rate of the interest that will be charged on your loan amount. So 1.1.3 is A. Gross salary 1.1.4. Gross salary is the total income before deductions. Because if you want to know when you get paid, let's say your gross salary is 25,000 rands. That is your gross salary, and they are going to tax you. You are going to be taxed. If you got a medical aid, they are going to deduct something for a medical aid. If you got UIF, which is unemployment insurance fund, if you got pension fund, that's all going to be deducted from that 25,000 rand. And after deducting the 25 rands, let's say you are left with 16,000 rands. So 16,000 rands would be your net income. 25,000 rands is your gross income, because the gross income is before deduction. Net income is after deduction. So what definition would best suit gross salary? Is J. The total amount of all an individual's income before deduction. That is J. 1.1.5 Data. Data means information or collected facts. So in this case, it's going to be F, which is information, series of observations, measurements, facts, collection and recording of information for statistical investigations. So that's F. We are sorted with question 1.1.1. Now, let us go and look into question 1.2. They say the South African government spends billions of rands every year to provide services to its citizens. That's you and me. The government's the government's main source of income is tax revenue. Tax revenue is the money that the government is getting through the tax that I was showing you that needs to be deducted from the salaries and other things. And the graph below shows the 2025-26 tax revenue in billions of rands. So we are now going to analyze this graph. We can see that from here, this is other tax revenues, which were 118.5 billion rands, and that is the 66% of the total tax revenues for 2025-26. And then here something which looks to be the biggest, is the personal income tax, which made 111.1 billion rands, and that constitutes 40% of the total tax revenues. This is the money that they are deducting from the salaries of those who are working, and that's definitely not you and I. Okay, and we've got another one. This one, I think this blue color is not very visible. We are going to try and make it visible. All right, that's it. And this portion, it's VAT, the value added tax of 499.5 billion rands, which constitutes 25% of the total tax revenues. The VAT, this is the tax that is deducted from, let's say you're going to buy bread from a particular supermarket, then VAT is charged onto that one. And then we also have corporate income tax. Corporate income tax, these are the companies. This is the tax that is charged from the companies, be it the mining companies or any other company that you may know of. So we are talking about the tax that they are paying here. All right. It's in that portion. Never mind my drawing. It has never been good, and I don't believe it ever will be. So just never mind my drawings. I'm not good with art. And we also have customs and excise duties, which is 156.4 billion rands and constitutes 8% of the tax revenues. The customs, this, let's say you are buying from other countries, you're buying abroad and you are importing into South Africa, then when this gets onto the base, on the seashores or at the airport, there are SARS offices in there, and SARS offices will determine how much tax you need to pay for the things that you have brought in from other countries, and those offices are called customs, and that revenue is called customs. We also have what I've skipped here. I only realized now that, the corporate income tax, we've dealt with this one, which is 331.3 billion rands and constitutes 17%. And we've got fuel levies. Fuel levies, this includes your diesel, your petrol, your paraffin, your gas, and all those kind of things. They also pay tax. So it's called fuel levies, which was 90.2 billion rands and constituted only 4% of the total tax revenues for 2025-26. Now let us go and try to answer the questions. Okay, they say use the information above to answer the questions that follow. Right, let me leave it here for now so that we can be able to see everything. 1.2.1, identify the type of graph shown above. This circular, let me try, as I've mentioned before, that you must never mind my drawing. It has never been good or something like that. This kind of a graph is called a pie chart, not a right chart, but a pie chart. Somebody has already mentioned there. That's where I got this question paper, so never mind that. And they say write down the item that generated the second highest tax revenue. The second highest tax revenue. Where do we get the second highest tax revenue? Okay, when we look at it, this one looks to be the biggest. The personal income tax is the biggest, but we don't want the highest. We don't want the biggest. We want the second biggest, which is this one. The 25% follows the 40%. Then that means VAT or VAT, value added tax, is the one that that generated the second highest tax revenue. 1.2.3, calculate the total amount received from tax revenue in 2025-26. Well, that means you're going to add all these tax revenues. Let us start with the personal tax income, which is 811.1 plus 499.5 plus, let me just open up a space here, plus 331.3 plus 156.4 plus 90.2 plus 118.5. If you add all these, they bring us to a total of, let me punch my calculator. Okay, I hope you are also calculating, and this brings us to, don't forget to put R for rands, because if it's not rands, then it's not money, so your answer is incorrect. $2007, you can write BN or billion in full rands. I believe that's what you're getting. And then we are going to 1.2.4. Write down the item that generated half the income received from customs and excise duties in terms of percentages. Okay, let's look at it. The customs, it's here. It's 8%. Half of 8% is 4%. Which one generated 4%? Is the fuel levy. So it's as simple as that. So it's fuel levy or fuel levies. And the last one says, determine the difference in tax revenues received from personal income tax and corporate income tax. The personal income tax is 811.1 billion rands minus, when they talk about the difference, you must know that you are going to minus. It's a subtraction. That's the difference. All right. Where's the corporate tax? Corporate tax is 331.3 billion rands. And when you subtract here, what do you get? We get 479.8 billion rands. So that's the answer for here. We write 479.8 billion rands. Fine. So we are done with the question 1 of this Limpopo Department of Education Math Literacy Common Paper of March 2026. Let us now look into question 2 and see how many questions we can answer in there. When we have a table here, they say a particular person called Janelle wants to open a new account. Janelle wants to open a new account. So Janelle is a woman. She compares transactional fees for 2 banks she found on the internet as shown in table 2 below. Okay. So the banks that they compared are NetBank and Capitec. And Capitec. So those that you see on that table are the transactional fees for these 2 banks, and they were adapted from the original website. So these fees are true and correct, adapted from netbank.co.za and capitec.co.za. So use table 2 and the information above to answer questions that follow. Write down the transaction fee for a prepaid top-up at NetBank if another bank is used. Okay, so here is the prepaid top-up, is the last one if you are using another bank or other ATM. So it's 11 rands. 11 rands. Let me write it on this clear side there. 2.1.1. It's 11 rands. Janelle had the following monthly transactions on a bank statement. 1. Cash withdrawal. Withdrawal of 2,500 at their own bank ATM. Number 2, she had a 2 cash withdrawals. You need to take note of this information. It's very, very important with regard to the question that you're going to answer. She withdrew 950 rands withdrawal from another bank. From another bank's ATM. And she did 1 cash send or send cash of how much? Of 1,000 rands. They say to a grandchild. So we don't care who she sent it to, but she did a send cash. So the bank doesn't charge you because you send it to your grandchild or to your grandfather or to your daughter. They charge you based on the amount that you have sent. So let us compare this. One cash withdrawal of 2,500 rands at your own bank. So if you withdraw at your own bank for net bank, they will charge you 12 rands per 1,000 rands or part thereof. What do they mean when they say or part thereof? They mean even if you were going to withdraw 100 rands or 500 rands, you were still going to be charged 12 rands. And at Capitec, she's charged 10 rands per 1,000 rands or part thereof. That means even if you were going to deposit 850 rands, you would still be charged 10 rands. And then two cash withdrawals at another ATM. Okay. When you withdraw cash at another ATM, they charge you 12 rand once off. 12 rand straight, that's net bank for you. And then for every 100 rands or part thereof, I've explained what part thereof means, they will charge you 2 rands 75 cents. That's if you're withdrawing from another ATM. And she did that twice. And lastly, 1 cent cash transaction. Oh, okay. Yeah, we forgot to check that the Capitec side is still 10 rands per 1,000 rands or part thereof. And lastly, 1 cent cash transaction of 1,000 rands to a grandchild. So when you send cash of up to 3,000 rands, so she didn't reach 3,000 rands because she only sent 1,000 rands. That means Netbank would charge her 10 rands and Capitec would charge her 2 rands. Now we have analyzed this whole scenario that has been given before us. So now let us check the question. Calculate the banking fees charged by both banks for all the transactions. That means we must add all these transactions and see what each bank is charging. So let us start with Netbank. So with Netbank, and then what are they saying with Netbank? One cash withdrawal of 2,500 rands. So if it's 2,500 rands, remember they are charging part thereof. That means you will count this as 3,000 rands on your calculations. So how many times is she going to be charged with cash withdrawal at her own bank? At her own bank, that will be 12 rands. Oh, I'm sorry. 12 rands times 3 because they are charging per 1,000, and from there we can see that she will be charged for 3,000 rands, which equals 12 times 3 equals 36 rand. Okay, it's fine. And then two cash withdrawals of 950 rands at other bank ATM. When you withdraw at other bank ATM, they charge you 12 rands plus 2 rands 75 per 100 rands. That means since it's 950, so the 50 rands will be rounded off to the next 100, that will be 1,000. So it means they will charge you for 10 100 rands. How many 100 rands will she be charged for? 10 of them. Then we will multiply by 10. And what does this give us? 2.75 by 10 should give us 27.5, which is 27 rand 50 cents. Yes, that's correct. Plus the 12 rands is 39 rands 50 cents. But she did this, she made two withdrawals. That will bring us to how much is 39 rands 50 cents times 2? That is 39.5 times 2 equals 79 rands, and this will bring us to 125 rands. So we are done with the calculations for the net bank side. Let us calculate the Capitec side. So for Capitec, withdrawal of 2,500 rands at her own bank, that would be 10 rands per 1,000 or part thereof. That means it's 10 rands times 3, which will be 30 rands. 2 withdrawals of 950 rands at another bank, that is still 10 rands. This is what we're talking about. It's still 10 rands or part thereof. That means she will be charged 10 rands and 1 cash cent, 1 cash cent or 1 cent cash, which is charged at just 2 rands. So we'll say plus 2 rands. So this will add up to 42 rands. I'm sure you can see which bank charges are much cheaper than which. I don't need to explain that to you. And our last question on 2.1 says, give one reason why bank charge more for branch deposits than ATM deposits. That is simply because in the branch it's manual. The deposits are done manually by human beings. And at the ATM, everything is done automatically. And there's no person that needs to be paid. Simple as that. Simple as that. And then you got your 2 marks. Now let us look into question 2.2. There's a table 3 here, which is personal income, tax rates, tax rebates, tax thresholds, monthly tax deductions for 2026. for 2026. So before we can continue with this question, I believe it would be better for us to understand what the meaning of personal income is, the meaning of tax rates is, the meaning of tax rebates is. Okay, I seem to have erased that. Let me redo. The meaning of tax rebates and the meaning of thresholds. So let us try and explain these terms. Personal income is the money which you are earning. Let's say you are employed at a particular company. You are going to earn so much. They say you are going to earn 10,000 rand, so that's your personal income. And then tax rates. Tax rates is the percentage used to calculate your tax. Is the percentage that is used to calculate your tax. Tax rebates. This reduces the tax you must pay. Let's say you need to pay 10,000 rands of tax and they are deducting 1,000 rands each month. That is your tax rebate. And the tax threshold is the minimum income you must earn before you start paying tax. The minimum income you must earn before you start paying tax. Let's say, for example, the tax threshold is 95,000 rands per annum. That means you must be earning 95,000 rands per annum in order for you to be taxed. But now you are earning 90,000 rands. So that means you are below tax threshold, so you cannot be taxed. And if you are earning 93, 93 is below 95, of course. If you are earning 100,000 rands, then you are above or within the tax threshold, then you must start paying tax. So that's the meaning of these terms that we have on top there. So we've got the table here. It's very long. I'm not going to read everything out for you. You can see it on the screen. What I'm going to do now is go on to question 2.2 straight. I'm reduced a little. Janelle, who is 66 years old, earns an annual income of that amount which is written there. I don't wanna read it out loud because there's a question underneath which is asking us something about it. She's earning that much for the 2026-27 tax year. She contributes 50,390,000 rands and 40 cents, of course, and 40 cents per year towards pension. She is also a member of a medical aid fund, contributing for herself and 2 grandchildren. Janelle receives no bonus at the end of the year. So we will be referring to the tables on the left to answer the questions on the right. Right, they say write this money, hence I didn't want to read it out loud. Write this money in thousands. You see now they wrote it in millions because they included this zero. So you just remove the zero and write it in thousand. It will be 671,872 rands, of course. Express the pension fund contribution as a percentage of the annual income. How do we do that, or how do we achieve that? How do we achieve that? We need to understand what we need to do in order to calculate this. Okay, how much is Janelle's tax, or how much is being deducted from her tax? Let us use this white portion here. She's paying taxed 50,390 40 cents of how much? Of 671,872. Then since we want a percentage, we're going to multiply this by 100. And how much are we getting here? 50,390.40 divided by 671,872 multiplied by 100. That is a 7.5%. It's a 7.5%. So the answer here would be 7.5 or 7.5%. You need to show the calculation, the whole calculation that we did here, in order for you to get the full 3 marks. Calculate Janelle's annual taxable income. Janelle's annual taxable income. Taxable income. What is this? The taxable income is the amount of money that you earn after the contribution towards the pension has been deducted. So that means we take the full amount of 671,872 and subtract the tax. They deduct a tax from this amount. Perfect. So you can transfer this here. Calculate the total annual medical credits she qualifies for. That we need to check to refer to this table. So she, as the main member is paying 376 rands, because we've been told there to calculate the annual credits she qualifies for, and that's in the year 2026-2027. And then a first dependent, because we were told that, remember, in the statement above, we were told that she pays for herself and 2 grandchildren. So the first dependent, that means one of the grandchildren, will pay 376, and the other as you can see. So we will add that up, 376 plus 376 plus 254. How much is she contributing? How much is she contributing? And remember, here it is said that this is monthly, and on the question they want us to calculate the annual. So do not forget that you need to take heed of such things on your question paper. So here she would be contributing, how much is this? It's 376 by 2 plus 254. That is 1,006 rands per month. 1,006 rands per month. But the question wants us to calculate the annual medical aid credits. So that means we're going to multiply by 12 months. And what are we going to get there? We are going to get 12,072 rands. That's what she's contributing every year towards the medical aid. Two point 2.2.5 show that the tax threshold for age 65 to age 74 in the table is correct. Okay, at least we know that it's correct. So here is the age 65 to 74, as you can see it there, and how much is their tax threshold. Because we are talking about 2026-2027, that is 153,250 rands. So the question here is asking you, at what income does a 65 to 74-year-old start paying tax, which is called a tax threshold. So the key idea here is, if your tax is equal to your rebate, then you pay zero tax. So we use the, let's write on this white side, tax equals rebate. Fine. Now let us find the total rebate. And what is the primary rebate? We'll go and check in the table. Primary rebate equals, and in the table here is the primary rebate, which is 17,820, and the secondary rebate for 65 and older, it's 7,965. All right, so the primary rebate is 17,820, and the secondary is 9,765. And when you add these two, what do we get? $27,585. Okay, so that is step number 1. And then step 2, let us use the first tax bracket of 18%. 13% of income. We have seen that on the left there. That is the first tax bracket of 18%. So we will equate just to check how much income this is going to be. So we'll say tax equals, oh, I've already mentioned that, tax equals 18% of the income. So what is that? The tax is the rebate, which is 27,585 equals 18% of the income. Here we want to know what the income is. Then we'll divide both sides by the 18%. (18% equals 0.18. So this side 18% will cancel the 18% and we'll be left with income. And then let me erase this just to open up a space. Then the income equals 153 250 rands. So let us check on the table. If this threshold is correct. It says 153 250. Let us check. And here it is on the threshold table. There it is. Then since the question wanted us to confirm if it's correct, never mind my drawings, it's just not so nice, but you have seen what I was trying to highlight. Okay, there you can see this is much better. Never mind my drawing. Since the question wants us to check whether it's correct and we have found it to be matching, then the conclusion is that the threshold is correct. Right. So now I can erase this just to open up the space. Just so I can open up the space and I don't go too far from the question paper itself. Clean up. Okay, now the very last question, which holds 9 marks of the 38 marks that question that this question is. They say Janelle stated that she is overpaying tax in the 2026-27 tax year. Verify showing all calculations whether a statement is valid. Welele. It's so nice, isn't it? So this is the big question. What is that big question? They want us to compare the actual tax she should pay and the tax that's already deducted. So the tax that is deducted is called pay as you earn. Pay as you earn. So step one, let us do this step by step because 9 marks is not a child's play. They can't just give you 9 marks for nothing. So let us find a taxable income. We have calculated that in the previous questions, in one of the previous questions, and we said the taxable income is 671,872 minus 50,390 and 40 cents. And let me check, what did we get there? We got 621,482 rands. Okay, so the second step, let us find the tax bracket. A tax bracket, so we want to see where this amount falls in comparison to the table. 621,482 falls where? Let us check on the tax bracket table. 621 must fall in here. It falls between 530,201 rands and 695,800 rands. That's where it falls. So that's a tax bracket. I forgot to write rands here. 695, 800. And the formula that we're going to use here, we're going to say 125, 599 times 36% of an amount above Okay, so step 3, let us calculate the tax. We will find the difference between that bracket. So, no, the difference between the taxable income and the lowest of the bracket. So that is 621 482, and we want the difference from 530 to 01. And how much is that going to be? Do your own calculations. And I hope you have calculated to get 91,281 rands. It's fine. So and the total tax, or rather the tax on this money, and we have said is 36% of that amount. So the tax is equal to 36% of 91,281. 36% is just 36 divided by 100 multiplied by 91,281. And that's going to give us 32,861 and 16 cents. Now that we've got that, the total tax, let us calculate the total tax. Total tax equals 125,599 plus 32,861.16, and that's going to give us how much? You should be calculating I beg your pardon, and you must have gotten 158,460 rands and 16 cents. Now, in the next step, we are going to subtract the rebates from this money. Remember, we have calculated to get 27,585. So we'll subtract it from 158,460.16. And this should give us 130,875 and 16 cents. Now let us subtract the medical credits from this amount. So we subtract the medical aid. That will be 130,875.16 minus, we have calculated initially to find that she's paying 12,072 rands per annum. And how much will that be? That is going, the real tax that she should be paying is 118,803 rands, 16. But how much tax is she already paying? Or how much tax has she already paid? So the tax that she's already paid on a monthly basis, it's somewhere around 12,413 times 12, which should give us 12 times 4. 12 times 12 is 144, and then plus that. Okay, we're going to get that's the amount that she has already paid. And then now let us subtract this from the medical that we have calculated. Okay, that will be 148,956 minus 118,803.16. And then how much extra is she paying? She's paying an extra 30,152.84, which is way too much. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion is that she's paying or the final understanding is that she's paying or overpaying the tax. So SARS owes her money, which they need to refund. And that is 30,152 rands and 84 cents. That brings us to the end of this session. If you have really liked this session, feel free to assist us by subscribing to this channel, liking, commenting, asking questions. And if you got any questions that you would need me to attend to, feel free to contact me on the details that are provided, whether it be the email or messaging me on Facebook, texting me on WhatsApp on the numbers that are provided. So that's it for today's lesson. Goodbye and have a good one. Share it with your friends and everybody who might need this information. Bye bye.